Hey Matt, welcome to Coding Chats with Callie.
Hey, Callie. Thank you for inviting me. So nice to be here.
I know I'm really excited. I feel like this is a little bit like payback, but payback sounds bad because you had me on your podcast and this isn't really a podcast, but I read your announcement that you're going into woodworking now, and I just had to sit down and talk with you. All
Yeah, I'm happy to discuss it and answer any questions you have.
right, so let's like go all the way back though. So what were you doing before you transitioned into software engineering?
So I was a park ranger for the state of North Carolina, and there were a lot of different jobs that were involved in that job. So part of it was law enforcement, part of it was maintenance and operations, and part of it was also environmental education. So I would take school
Cool.
groups to the park that I was working at and do environmental education programs. So it was a lot of different things, but I was a park ranger.
That sounds really rewarding. What made you decide to get into software engineering?
So a few things kind of came together at the same time. Before I was a park ranger in North Carolina, I was a park ranger in New York City for about 4.5 years. And I loved that job. I absolutely love that job.
Okay.
But I wanted to get out of New York City. I lived there my whole life. And
I'm
New
kind
York
of trying to think of
City,
like what a park ranger in the city does. Can you paint that picture for me?
yeah. So actually, working in New York City parks, I saw way more wildlife than I saw in North Carolina parks.
Interesting.
Yes, because if you think of the green spaces in New York City, they're so confined. So all of the animals have to stay within those green spaces,
That
right?
makes
So
sense.
woods and forests, whereas here in North Carolina, it's so spaced out. But yeah, the same sorts of things, except I did mostly environmental education programs there. So my wife and I decided to move out of New York City to North Carolina. And pretty soon after I started the park ranger job here in North Carolina, I realized it was extremely different and I did not like it at all. Um,
Okay.
but I committed to the move, so I was there now. We'll make it work for a little bit. But
Okay.
fast forward about a year, and I was very burned out. Um, I was working 7 days a week.
No.
Yeah, most weeks, not every week, but most weeks I was working 7 days a week. Um, the work was pretty difficult. The team there wasn't the best. So I was thinking of things to do, right? I moved here. I'm a park ranger now, and I don't want to be a park ranger anymore. What am I going to do? So I was watching TV late at night, and I saw this on the news. I saw a story about a woman who got a some kind of scholarship through Goodwill, the
Oh,
company
okay.
Goodwill, yeah, to become a full stack software developer. I guess they put her through some kind of boot camp, and I was like, I have no idea what that is, but it sounds cool. So I looked it up, and I decided to give it a try. And I did that through Code Academy. They have a bunch of free courses on there. And
Mm-hmm.
so I started with their HTML course. And basically, once I started typing things and seeing it appear on my computer, I was pretty hooked. Um,
Yes.
yeah. And so I was very interested. It was like lighting up my brain instantly. And I was learning HTML, CSS, and vanilla JavaScript from March of 2022 until I quit my job to pursue it full time in August of 2022.
Okay, so that's a quick turnaround from like introduction to code to like this is what I'm doing.
Yeah, so I'm a saver, right? So I had a lot of money saved up. So it didn't really take a whole lot out of me to make that transition. I saved up for to have my expenses covered for about a year and a
Oh,
half.
nice.
So yeah, I was already there financially. So it was just like one day deciding like, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore. I got to make a change.
Okay, so what was the experience like of going from just like teaching yourself to like this is now like gonna be my job?
It was great. because I would have to squeeze all of my learning time into, let's say, 2 hours a day in the afternoon once I got out of work, and then some time on the weekends. But now I had all the time in the world. I could do this all day if I wanted to. So it was a really good transition in that respect. But it was also, I was a bit nervous too, because I had to make something work, right? I don't have a job anymore. I'm not making an income, and I'm living off of savings. So it was the fun aspect of I get to learn all day, but also I was a bit nervous too.
What was like the job hunt plan and the learning plan in order to get there?
So the learning plan was, I thought I was very incorrect, but I thought it would
Okay.
take me 6 months to get my job. So I prepared for a year, right? I was like, listen, I'm making this plan for 6 months, but I'm going to give myself twice the amount of time just in case I have no
Honestly,
idea
that
what I'm
sounds
talking
very
about.
smart and developer-y of you. You backpacked or t-shirt sized it, you know?
Yeah, I was like, I don't really know exactly what I'm talking about here career wise. But I'll just plan for making it last twice as long.
Yeah.
Um, And after that year, if nothing happened, then I would at least get a part-time job to extend that period of time to, let's say, like a year and a half. And then
Hmm.
after that, I would just like find myself a full-time job. So that was really my plan.
Okay. So how long did it take you then? Because you said you were wrong in there. So where was what ended up happening? What's the middle of the story since it's not the end?
Yeah, so it actually took me about 10 months to get my first role
Nice.
I was a front-end developer. Yep. And yeah, it took me 10 months. So just a little bit longer than 6 months. But that's where I got my first role. And I got that role through networking, in-person networking through the Meetup app. I met somebody who was looking for developers. And then through a little bit of conversation, I got my first role.
Nice. And what type of company was this for? And like what kind of position was this?
Yeah, so I was a front end developer. I was working with React, and I wasn't working with TypeScript at the time, but React and um, yeah, I was just on the front end, and we were building an application to help apprentices um, join with companies in software. So I was building the application that would facilitate that.
Oh, very
Um,
cool.
yep, yep. So that was my first role. Um, yeah.
Nice. What was the experience like coming from being self-taught to now you landed the role that was your goal for all of those months? Now you have it. How did you feel in it and were you ready?
I didn't think I was ready, but I was very ready. Which I think happens a lot to people, right? We want to do like, build another project or
Hmm.
learn this extra skill. And, eventually when I get there, then I'll be ready. And then you get there and then you say the same thing again. And I was kind of in that phase, but I was definitely ready to do the job. And it was interesting because it was the same for me. It was the same as when I graduated college. I had
Okay.
built up all this anticipation, and it would be like this great payoff. And I felt absolutely nothing. And it was just like it felt accomplishing, right? It felt
Yeah.
pretty good, but it wasn't like what I expected. It was just like, okay, now I have a job and now I have to, get into to working and building things. And that's really what it was for me. Yeah, it wasn't like this huge payoff.
There. So kind of how long did you stay at that position? And like is that where you're at now? Where kind of take us from there, your first position to where we're at now?
Yeah, so I lasted there 1 month before leaving. It
Oh,
turned
wow.
out, yeah, it turned out I was a front end developer and I did do front end development work there, but there were a lot of things that were communicated and didn't actually happen. I don't want to go too far into details, but yeah, there were when I joined when I joined the company and started that position, I was told that there would be a lot of different things that I would be doing and things would be run a certain way. And it turned out that it was not that at all. So I decided to leave after a month. And from there, I didn't know what I was going to do. I went back to cold applying, which I absolutely hate to do, and building projects and doing some more networking.
Okay.
And eventually, through LinkedIn, I landed another role
Yay.
with a startup. And this role was a complete 180. There was a lot of support there. I had
I
a
love that.
mentor. Yeah, I had a mentor who was absolutely amazing and had a ton of patience. And I was a front end developer there, although I was doing a lot of full stack work. So we were working with React, TypeScript, Node, and Express.
Okay.
And I was there for 3 months until the business unfortunately closed.
Oh
But that
no.
was yeah, yeah. But I will say that was an amazing experience, and that was a great position, and I learned a lot there.
So walk me through, I guess, like what do you, it sounds like you had more structure and mentorship at your second position versus your first. I guess what difference does that structure and mentorship make? If you're looking at like tech stack, pretty similar. So like what was what made it such a good experience?
Communication was very good. Honesty, there was a lot of honesty and transparency. I knew exactly what I was getting myself into with that second position. The first position, I was told I would be in one role, and I was kind of in a different role. The second position, I knew exactly what I was getting myself into. I could ask questions. There was leadership there. There was mentorship. There was a lot of room for learning and growth, and the team dynamic was overall a lot better. Um, yeah, those are the main differences.
Okay. So you got burned twice. It sounds like very early in your software engineering career. What happened next? Was third time the charm?
Yeah, so no. So
Oh no.
yeah, yep. Well, I let me also say during this time period, I was also doing volunteer work. So I had a few different roles, but these two were the only paid roles. So I was
Okay.
doing that as well. I also had a part-time job for a local town. I was doing environmental education at that time as well. So I had a lot of different things going on. Um, but a few months after that second position ended, I was still looking for my first full-time role, but my daughter was born.
Oh,
Um,
congratulations.
thank you so much. So now I have a baby, I have a wife, I have a family I have
A
to take
lot.
care of.
Yeah.
I need a full-time job,
Yes.
you know? So I took a full-time job also with a local town here. And during that time, I was still building projects. I was still looking for a position and I was still building things. And one of the projects that I actually built was for the town employees. And it was a really cool project because it saved the town money and time as well.
Oh, love that.
Yeah, so I built a project that was a benefit to the position that I already had, which was completely unrelated. So that was pretty cool.
Okay, very nice. Did you feel burnt out after all of that? Because that sounds like a lot. I mean, I only was a mom at the time that my daughter was born, and that in itself burnt me out. I can't imagine parenting, full-time job, doing side projects. What was that like?
So yes and no. Yes, because it is a lot to manage and time management is very difficult during that time. No, because I have ADHD. And the way my brain works is I need to be doing a bunch of different things at once.
All
So
right.
I always have tons of projects going on. And yeah, I always kind of like to be overwhelmed with lots of different things. So it was a bit much, but also it kind of worked in my favor and I was able to handle it.
Okay. So what happened next in the story?
Yep. So the town that I was working for, I took a very entry level position. Basically, I was picking up garbage and like cleaning bathrooms in the for the town,
Okay.
for their parks department. And I knew I wasn't going to stay there for long, but it was just something to make some
Yeah.
money for the time. And during that time, I was looking at different positions they had. I was doing my best to be an asset to the team. I was doing really well, and I saw that they had a position which was basically a general trades position. And I applied for that position. And after 4 months, I was promoted. And so now I work in the trades and I do lots of different things. I can get into that if you'd like.
Yes. Okay. So I think first off is like what attracted you to the trades and like what are the similarities you see? Like what attracted you to the trades? Is there something similar that attracted you to software engineering? Is there a similarity between that or is it completely different worlds?
There are similarities.
Okay.
One of them is learning. So I don't do a specific trade. So I'm coming in new. I have no idea what I'm doing basically. And there's so much to learn. Same story for me with software development, right? I came in, I had no idea what I was doing and had a lot to learn. Um, Another thing is kind of similar, but I call it being punched in the face. I'm doing air quotes here, being punched in the face, right? Which basically means like I'm the new person again, right? I was an expert in my field when I was a park ranger, but now I'm completely new. It's very humbling. You kind of have to maintain your own ego and
Mm-hmm.
take direction and realize that you're the new person on the team. Same sort of thing with when I started software. Um, I had no idea what I was doing. So those are some of the similarities. What attracted me to that position is I generally need to spend a significant portion of my day outside, getting some sunlight and fresh air. And with this job, I do that. I'm a very physical person by nature. I like to lift weights and exercise a lot. And with this job, I get to do a lot of that stuff. And it actually leaves my brain open to like creative pursuits in my free time. When I was doing software work, it was very cognitively intense,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't have any gas in the tanks um, to do that sort of stuff after I was done working because my brain was so mentally tired. This work is very physical in nature, so it kind of leaves that open for when I get home and I could do more of that stuff.
Okay. So what are the creative endeavors that you are looking at?
Yes, so I do have a podcast. It's called Self-Taught Devs, which you'll already know because you were on it. So,
Yes,
and thank you
everybody
for
go
coming
take a
on.
listen if you're watching this. Just pause this and then hop over or finish it
Yes,
and hop
yes.
over. One of the two.
So that is one of my creative pursuits. I do that podcast with my co-host Eric, and we've been doing that for, oh man, I want to say a year and a half now. So we make an episode a week, every week for a year and a half, and that's going very strong. I also have my own YouTube channel, not
Nice.
software development related.
Oh.
I won't plug that here. And also I am building my own project, which I hope to monetize. And that will be focused on helping content creators. So I will reveal that sometime in the future as well.
Oh my gosh, I love this. Okay, so you have like a lot of what's the phrase? Like pots in the fire, maybe? Okay.
I get
Very,
what you, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Very cool. I feel like too, you could always like make your own website for your own trades business, and like meld the two.
Oh, there's a lot of things going on up here. There's ideas. I'm writing things down. But when it comes to like big projects, I like to just take it one at a time, and try to complete, quote unquote, complete, right? But try to finish a project before I start something else. So there's a lot of ideas, but I'm doing one thing at a time.
I love that. So what are the different trades that you've gotten into and like how does one switch between trade like how would you even learn it all? Which I know coming from software engineering, you probably would ask the same question, but it just boggles my mind that you would just like get this job and then you do all of these different fields.
Yeah, so another parallel to software is you will never learn it all, right? You will never learn it all when it comes to software. You'll never learn it all when it comes to the trades, which I absolutely love about it. And some of the things that I've done so far, well, first, I don't want to oversell myself. I'm certainly not a master trades person. I've only had this position for 2 months. And for the most part, I'm mostly assisting and learning and taking direction under my mentors and the senior people at the job. So I don't want to oversell myself in that aspect. But so far, I've done a little bit of welding. I've done some
Cool.
concrete work, a little bit of
Ooh.
plumbing, some irrigation. I've used heavy machinery, um, chopping down and chipping trees, some lawn maintenance, a little bit of woodworking. I'm leaving a few out, I know it, but a lot of different things. So that's been really exciting.
I love it.
Um,
What do you think? So this like you mentioned that you're like assisting, right? Which it makes me think of pair programming. What do you think the software industry could learn from the trades industry when it comes to like apprenticeship and mentorship?
yes, so when I came in, everyone knew my ability and they hired me with the perception that I would be doing lots of learning. And they've set me up in a way that promotes that, right? So I'm the junior person on the team. There's two different teams. Each team has three people. So there's a junior, a senior, and a team lead. And all three of us will be working on the same project together all the time, unless somebody takes the day off. And so there is all of this hands-on learning and kind of like paired programming, like you said, and that it's like that all the time. So I'm not expected to, let's say, I don't know, deliver immediately. There's a lot of time to learn and to prepare the new person for all the different projects and all the different things that we'll be taking on. Um, and I think that it's hard because I work for local government. I don't work for a private company. So it might be a little bit different in that aspect, right? Because, in a private company, a private business, the really the only goal is to
To make
keep the
money.
business successful, to
Yeah,
make
yeah,
money,
yeah.
right? So you have to allocate your resources accordingly. So it might be a little bit difficult to do that. Whereas with local government, I basically work for the people of the town. I serve the people. So it's a little bit
I
different in
also
that
kind of
aspect.
love that. That's so nice.
Yeah, it's cool. Because I see the projects that I work on directly impact the people of the town, and it's really cool in that aspect. It feels rewarding.
It feels like you kind of deserve your own Netflix show a little bit. Like I'm picturing, honestly, your background's really informing my view. But I'm picturing like a small town in the mountains, and you're just going around like with your axe and just greeting the townspeople. And I don't know, it's cool imagery. My husband watches a YouTube channel where they built a house in the middle of nowhere. Is that one of the projects that you are thinking that you'll do?
That would be amazing, but no, nothing that big. We do have some major projects, but we're not building huge facilities. We're not specialized enough for that. We mostly tackle repair work. We might build smaller structures, but nothing big like that.
So how does this inform your podcast moving forward or your like outlook on some of your like goals within software engineering, this change?
Yes, so I'm no longer looking to be an employee when it comes to software development. I want to do my own thing and build my own product. As it pertains to the podcast, our goal with the podcast was number one, to talk about what we were doing and be as honest and transparent as possible. Because at the time, even still, if somebody was looking to get into the industry, well, where's one of the first places they go? They might do a Google search, or they might go to YouTube, where they see somebody telling them that they could get a six-figure job in 3 months, or, they
Yeah.
could get, yeah, right, these huge goals immediately. And we wanted to just describe our own experience and say, maybe that happens for some people, but it's not like that for us. And essentially, it was to help the other newcomers feel as if they weren't failures, that it's okay if you're struggling. It's okay to take a lot of time. This is a difficult endeavor. It's not something that's easy. And we also wanted to give other people like yourself a platform to promote themselves and talk about the things that they were building and what they were working on. And hopefully that would benefit them in some way. And we continue to, and our plan is to continue to do that. And we've been showing up and doing that every week. So as long as we're serving the developer community, we're just going to keep doing that.
I love that. How do you feel building your own project in terms of like confidence level and like roadmap um with starting it yourself and starting it from the ground up and not having this as your full-time job?
I love it because software development for me, especially as a front end developer, was mainly a creative pursuit. And when it comes to creative pursuits, I like to have full autonomy and full freedom to do whatever I want. And that's one of the benefits of working on your own project. You can do whatever you want, right? I answer to nobody. I don't have to ask anybody questions. I don't have to communicate with other people. Um, and I will say though, now that my plan, since my plan is to monetize the project, I am doing a lot more planning.
Okay.
Um, yeah, especially when I first started, I had the tendency to come up with an idea, start writing code right away, which prevents procrastination, but leads to a lot of bugs and things I had to
Yes, yes, yes,
fix
yes, yes,
down the
yes.
line. I'm trying to
Yeah.
prevent that. Yeah.
Okay, how's the planning process going for you? Are you
It's
still in the
going
planning
pretty well.
process? Okay.
I am. It's going pretty well because I'm doing my best to keep it as simple as possible. I don't want to make a very robust, complex project. I want My goal is to solve one problem and keep it simple.
I love that.
And yeah, and since it is a tool to help content creators, I'm basically building this project for myself. It is something that I would use and something that I know other people would use as well. Um, so I, instead of having to ask other users, which I will do eventually, what they think, I would ask myself, like, is this a tool that will benefit me? And when I make decisions, I would ask myself, like, would this benefit me as a content creator? The answer is yes, and I definitely want to include that.
I love that because I think worst case scenario is still best case scenario because if you, let's say you have no users and no one wants to use your app, the fact that you made it for yourself and you can use that and it solves a problem in your life is like a win. And then the fact that this is just like a creative outlet for you too. I love the idea of software engineering as a creative outlet. I think that's a really like healthy and great perspective to have about it.
Yeah, I actually didn't want to build this project. I originally I had no plans, and I
Okay.
told myself, like, I don't want to take on another project, but I kept coming up to the same problem. And I was like, I need a tool to solve this problem, and there's
Yeah.
no tools out there. So I guess I have to build it. Um, but yeah, it's turned into a very creative pursuit, and I enjoy the creative process as it pertains to front end development, and I get to have that creative outlet, especially with this project.
Very cool. All right. So we are wrapping up here. Is there anything that you'd like to plug more before we end the call?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, we already talked about it earlier, but the Self-Taught Devs podcast, you could find us on Spotify. We have a new feature where you could leave us a voice message. Doesn't have to be software related, although it does go along with the theme of the theme of the
Yeah,
podcast.
fair, fair, fair.
You could tell us anything. You could ask us a question. You could leave any sort of feedback. We love to hear the listeners' feedback, and we want to make episodes that are for your benefit. So if you have any suggestions, anything you want to know, anything you want to hear, please send us a message, and we will try to accommodate that.
I love that. That's very cool. And where can people find your YouTube channel at?
So I'm not making that public yet,
Oh, okay.
but I
That's
will.
okay. Under wraps. Okay, I'm excited for it. And yeah, let me know when it's not under wraps, and I'll be happy to share and see if we can get you some viewers.
I'd really appreciate that. Thank you.
I think it's a large crossover between like the trades and software engineering. I kind of just feel like software engineering is a little bit like another trade.
Yeah, I would say so. There's tons of learning, there's tons of growth and progress, and I would say it is very similar. Yeah, a lot of the you have to learn how to learn, right? You have to know yourself and be very self-aware. You have to be dedicated as well. So yeah,
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Matt, and I will talk to you soon.
Callie, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Bye.